Hello and welcome to the A&P. I am Alex Johansson and my co-host Patrick McCallum. Patrick,
Hello, everyone. How are you getting on?
we're having logical discussions about the state of the world. Let's get into it, brother. All right, Patrick. Your man Derrick Domino's got another video and he believes Elon Musk can help save America. You want to see what he has to say?
Yeah, save Ireland, you mean? Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem.
Apparently Elon Musk is going to
Yeah, we
cross the
definitely
pond.
need. Hey, do you want, all the government waste in the last couple of years? We definitely welcome someone like him over here.
Well,
All you have to do is Google something, the Irish Children's Hospital, and you will see exactly how much of our budget disappears every year.
into that dark, dark hole of NGOs. Here we go.
Could Elon Musk help save Ireland? It's no secret, in fact, it's a hard and fast reality that we Irish, the Irish in Ireland, are being fast-tracked into oblivion. We are being replaced in our own land. We are being, in my opinion, colonized and soft genocided.
That's legit.
Yeah.
If that study's correct,
Yeah,
then
yeah.
in 2050, Ireland ceases to exist as the Irish state, right?
Oh, yeah. We'll be less than 50% of the population by then.
Right. And I understand your population is 5 or 6 million, but isn't it that only about 4.5 million are actual Irish citizens, Irish culture?
Yeah, it is an 80-20 mix now at the moment.
All right.
Will, in just a few years, because of open borders and government-sponsored mass immigration, be a minority in our own homeland. We will, in a very few short years, if current trends continue, cease to be a unique and distinct people in the world. And it's being cheerleaded on by the EU, who hates any sense or form of nationalism and nationality, and by our own spineless politicians, who are little more than nodding lapdogs for the EU elites in Brussels. It has been said that demographics is destiny. But I would also say this: demographics is a numbers game. It's just numbers.
Right. And that's what is effectively happening is you're having a soft genocide. He's absolutely correct.
Yeah, he is right. It is right. Even if you look through our own history, that nearly happened to us once before. As they say, this is the first time that we're doing it to ourselves, and we're just sitting back and taking it. Yeah.
So it's being legislated by the Dáil, functionally, right?
Not even legislated; it's just been left happen by our government. Not even. You just open the doors and here you go. Off you trot, as they say.
So your borders aren't sacrosanct, right?
No. And the funny thing is, we're an island. I think it'd be think it would be the easiest thing in the world to secure our borders, but apparently not.
The UK's having the same problem. They just can't seem to stop folks coming on little boats across 26 miles of water. Ugh.
With the Irish,
which I'm finding very surprising.
Say that again.
I find that very surprising because, especially with the British Navy themselves,
right?
Have.
Well, we were talking before. So how does one get to Ireland then? Why is it that your border is so porous? What's going on with that?
Our biggest, what's happening is, and a lot of people are openly saying it, is there's busloads coming from Northern Ireland, which is the UK. So they're being shipped from Europe to Britain, and then Britain is shipping them to Northern Ireland, and apparently, well, there's a lot of documented evidence and pictures and videos, them literally being bussed down Dublin and dropped off at the International Protection Office in Dublin. And then they're all landing on our doorstep. Instead of us, or the Irish government, turning around and putting them back on the bus and send them back up to Northern Ireland and say to the UK, wait a minute, this is not our problem, that's your problem. But our government doesn't have as they say, the power to do anything much about that.
So England's just sloughing off all of not all of, because they have massive issues with immigration there too. But
I don't put the 100% blame on Britain either. These are being shipped over from the other EU countries. They've been sent to Britain. They're being sent to Ireland from other EU countries, not just Northern
Right,
Ireland.
but if
They're
they
landing
come
in
from
our
an EU
airport.
country, how did they get out of that country in the first place to be put on a plane?
Exactly. Yeah. Like a lot of them are coming, the likes of Belgium, Netherlands, France, Spain, by boats, planes, buses, whatever else, landing on our shores. But our government doesn't seem to want to address that with the EU Council.
It's not very magnanimous
I
of
say
them.
we definitely. Well, our government. Well, Fianna Gael and Fianna Fáil, they've never had a great history in Ireland.
Through my life growing up until a few years ago, we were sitting around 4 million as a population. Well, 4 million in world terms, in country terms, and nation terms is a drop in the ocean. It's tiny. You can't play fast and loose with a tiny population if you care about your culture, your heritage, your history.
For perspective, Canada has about 40 billion residents, right? But every state in the United
40
States,
million, yeah.
almost every state in the United States, barring Nebraska, Wyoming, Kansas, a few of them, don't even have, they don't have 4 million, but almost every state in the Union has at least 4 million residents, right?
Yeah.
So if you compare that to Ireland as a whole, right? Ireland comprises a space, slightly larger, I'd say, than like New Jersey, right?
Yeah, rough. Yeah, you would say, yeah.
Right,
It's
but the
slightly larger than
population of New
Jersey,
Jersey
right?
is far in excess of that of Ireland. In fact, per capita, like for square footage, New Jersey is the most populous state in the United States, right?
But also, it's probably has the most They also have the housing as well.
Well,
We
they're
don't have
short.
the housing.
Yeah, they're short on housing
They're
there
short
too.
of housing. They're short.
Yeah, but not short like Ireland's short on housing, because you got
Oh yeah,
200,000 Ukrainians, right? And with 4 million, 200,000 is a very significant number. If you put
but it's not
200,000
just
people spread around the entire United States, that's not going to have the impact. What's that?
no.
So
So if you think about, but if you think about hundreds of thousands of people, say roughly, give and take, there's all different figures from our government in the last 3 years. Say 300,000 roughly of not just Ukrainians but all nationalities coming in. Plus they bring their families, kids. So that could be anything up to 500,000. We don't know. The government have all different figures. They're not very open and honest about their figures.
well, they're not vetted and they haven't been
So
checked.
if you think about it, say roughly about 10%. We say 10 population went up between 5 to 10%. Imagine in America that say 30 million people suddenly just landed on your doorstep. I think there'd be a lot of questions asked.
Well, we had between 11 and 15 million in 4 years, and a lot of questions are now being asked. Lots of questions.
Exactly. Now imagine if it was 2 or 3 times that. If you know what I mean, these are the figures we're looking at.
And you don't even know if they're right.
Now we have a
And they've probably been downplayed.
We have a shock. Yeah, we don't know. We have a massive shortage of housing at the moment.
Right, but doesn't the constituency of the Irish Republic have the right to know who they're moving in? Isn't that something that you as a people should know?
Oh yeah, we have Freedom of Information Acts and so on and so forth. But the journalists in Ireland seem to be very resonant or
well, is that
unwilling.
Is that because RTE and all your major news services, BBC, that you guys get into Ireland is paid for by the state?
Well, we have a lot of independent journalists. But to make a Freedom of Information request of a government body costs. It costs money. And a lot of independent journalists wouldn't have the type of money or the resources to hunting down every single government department. Same as most independent journalists.
Well,
and the larger news organizations.
There's lots of other strange things going on as well. So like in Germany, in the Bundestag, the governing legislative body of Germany, the party that got second place in seats in their what's that called?
Yeah, the AFD, yeah.
Yeah, the AFD, they're functionally locked out of governance. And the leader of that party, I believe, was arrested, and it looks like their parliament is going to make it illegal to be a member of the AFD, which is going to clear out all of those seats, or something's going to happen.
Yeah.
They're going to have to change parties, something.
No, well, they're talking. There's a lot of stamping their feet, and I don't think they'll do. I personally, I would say about the Germans, they can be fiery sometimes. Well,
Yeah.
make a lot of joy. They can be
let
very
that go.
fiery people.
I'm going to let that go,
Yes,
Patrick. I'm
yeah.
going to let that go.
I had a said, and I was going, yeah.
Well, and then I was checking out Australia,
Yeah.
and Australia has made it but hate speech laws, and some of their hate speech laws specifically are geared toward saying things that the government doesn't agree with. If you disagree with the government on a certain topic, climate change, immigration, gendered ideology, any of those kinds of things, if you disagree with the government, regardless of position, then it can be considered hate speech. And then, like they did up in Canada with Bill C-16, they're enforcing speech at the end of the barrel of a gun. Right?
Yeah,
Well, Jordan Peterson was talking about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, Jordan Peterson. There was another streamer, Asmund Gold. I was actually watching him there recently enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the way you have these guys on in the background. So I had him on the background. He made a very good point. He said, a lot of the Western countries preach freedom this and freedom that.
Tolerance.
As long as they agree with what you're saying. As long as you agree with them.
Well, free speech protection is so people can say the things you don't want to hear. Something you either don't care about, or their emotional investment sways in your direction. Cool. Yeah, say whatever you want.
Yeah.
But when someone's feelings get hurt, all of a sudden it's horrible. Jordan Peterson said C-16 says things about how people present themselves, which can be anything, right? And if you say something that doesn't agree with what they're presenting, then you're in violation. You have committed hate speech. But it's transparent in that what happens is if you violate it, you get fined, right? You violated the hate speech law. You're going to get fined, right? And those fines are 50,000 Canadian up. And if you can't pay the fine, what happens?
You get jailed.
Someone takes your things.
Crazy.
And or you get jailed.
Crazy.
Yeah,
it's absolutely like a lot of people in the West. For a long time, we always stood up for freedom of speech and liberty. But somewhere along the line, I think they lost their way. They genuinely, a lot of them lost their way.
Well, there's some ideological capture going on. There's something inherent in the system of tolerance that just we start ending up leaning in this direction. And then you end up with fiery Germans, like you were talking about.
Well, yeah. Oh no, that's definitely going to come back. Right, let's play there, Dominic.
Your ancestry. But that is exactly what our political leaders decided to do. Why? They thought they could make more money that way. The EU promised our dim-witted politicians that the open borders road was paved with gold. But here's the kicker. What they didn't tell them was it's also paved with cultural tribal extinction. If only a couple of suburbs of Stuttgart or Marseille decided to up sticks and move to the Emerald Isle, well, we'd very quickly find ourselves speaking German or French. Any of us who raised even the slightest concerns about this radical new policy, new way forward for Europe at the time were dismissed as cranks and tinfoil hat conspiracists. It couldn't possibly go wrong, we were told. Why, only a few tens of thousands of people might possibly move our way. This is what our leaders told us. Well, the truth is they didn't know, and I believe they didn't really care.
In the UK, Nigel Farage was talking about when they had a regulated immigration system that brought in 30 to 40,000 a year of completely vetted persons, right, and their families, people who would choose to assimilate and take on the British way of life, even though they don't have an actual functional constitution, although they're one of the oldest countries in the world, right? All that was blown apart when they just started allowing more and more and more and more people. And then with Brexit and them not being a part of the EU, that control is lifted. They somehow end up in Belfast, and then they come down to the Republic.
Yeah.
Right? And it's so unfair to the people of Ireland. Just like the things that are going on in the United States, it's exceptionally unfair to
As
the
I said,
people of the
I
United
don't. I
States.
just don't blame. I don't 100% blame the UK, and I understand that every country is trying to dump it on another country. They're trying to kick the can down the road, and unfortunately, we're the end of Europe. If you know what I mean, we're kind of lads holding the can at the moment.
Yeah, you
And
are the
in a very,
cul-de-sac.
very big
You're in
attempt.
you're the cul-de-sac
Yeah.
at the end of the neighborhood, and everything
Yeah.
is being funneled towards you. But I think that
Now,
because of Brexit, the UK is more able to ship problems off because they don't have to answer to Brussels for that now. So I'm not specifically citing the UK as the villain in the piece, but they do have a major part to play.
Oh, they do. As I said, they're not 100% the villain. Like, this is an entire European problem, not just Ireland, England, France. It's an entire European level problem.
Well, maybe they should look to Poland. They seem to be doing all right.
Well, Poland's part of the EU as well. So.
Oh, they are, but they're paying $10 million a day to not allow immigration into their country. They're paying money every day. They're being punished by the EU for wanting to maintain their culture. Ireland has decided they're not going to maintain their culture.
No. By the way, Poland's not the only country being fined at the moment. Hungary's been fined as well by the EU.
Regardless, one country, two country, three countries, whatever, there's a majority of countries in the EU who are forcing other countries who are not allowing immigration into their country to pay money. They're being punished for wanting to maintain their culture. Ireland is not fighting it, and they're not paying the money, right? But I don't think soft genocide is the right answer. That's not the good way to go.
No, I think it's a bigger issue. I think what we're seeing more so all across Europe and AFD and other victories across Europe is the normal citizens in the EU are tired of the immigration policy of the EU. I wouldn't say they're tired of the EU in general. They're just tired of the immigration policy. That seems to be a common thread all across.
Well, it's unsafe for the G7 countries to
even
the
center, even most of the center right. Like, that's pretty much what the AFD is, center right. A lot of the center right parties are saying that we are not tired of the EU. We're tired of this non-stop immigration.
It's an onslaught. It's functionally an invasion.
Yeah,
just like you said
and
before.
It's not just a German.
No, it's not just. But no, what you were saying before, in that you guys are doing it to yourselves. Ireland is doing it to themselves.
Yeah.
Right? They're not standing up and saying, "Fix this."
No,
they're not putting a stay on it.
Yeah, and I think in the next general election, it'll be very interesting to see. At that stage, we're talking about 3 to 5 years down the road for the next general election.
So Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, Sinn Féin, you think they're going down?
I think the top 3 will get a right kick in the, as they said, the nether regions.
And possible, right there in the undercarriage.
As Dominic said here, that it's going to take something like the AFD in Germany or a similar type of party to rise up in Ireland.
Right, but if they don't get knocked down like the AFD is getting knocked down, or if your political speech is considered hate speech like in Australia, right? There's all these avenues towards some kind of awkward totalitarian thing, some fascistic like governmental style that says that everything we're doing is right and we're going to go ahead and lord this over you. It feels bad. It feels like the EU, the people of the EU aren't able to speak their piece, and their duly elected constituencies are just, their voices aren't heard. The UK voted every election for 30 years to stop what's happening right now. 20, 30 years. And they just kept it up. Let's get back to Derrick.
Yeah,
I happen to believe the whole open borders plan project within the EU was just a way of acclimatizing the populace to this new idea, this new notion that you could just have a borderless state, a borderless empire. But really, it was softening the public up for a bigger project, for an even bigger plan, which was the idea of open borders to the whole world. So it starts with Europe. You get used to that. That starts to become normalized. And then suddenly it's widened and broadened out. And suddenly you have people from Mongolia, the Congo, and Vanuatu all just romping in with no papers, no passports, no visas, and no vetting. It is perfectly clear to me and to, I think, many, if not most other people, that this experiment in Irish terms, in terms of Ireland and its tiny indigenous native population, has been a disaster. It's now, the floodgates have well and truly opened, the dam has burst. We are seeing demographic changes on a scale we've never seen before, and at a speed that we've never even imagined possible. But it is possible, and it is happening. And even though the vast majority of Irish people, when polled in numerous polls, have said they're against what's happening, they want this mass immigration situation either stopped or at least slowed down until we can get a firm handle, a grip on what's going on, the government and all the main political parties simply refuse to do.
You know what the funny thing about that? That poll that he just showed there
Mm-hmm.
was done before the last general election.
And you guys
People
still voted for
still-
the same parties.
I was about to say they still voted for Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, and Sinn Féin. They still voted the same way as the last election, roughly. Even take the Greens and somewhere else. But remember, I was showing you before the different makeup of all the parties in Ireland.
Right. The people before profit.
It's
My
funny-
favorite. My favorite peoples.
Oh yeah.
No, there was one party
yeah,
that
I
had
remember.
I think they got 3 TDs. Which one was it?
Independent Ireland?
Yes, those guys are awesome. But they'd been in the Dáil for quite a while, so they changed parties. And I think one of them was Sinn Féin and 2 of them were Fine Gael?
Yeah, something that I have to
Fianna Fáil?
look it up again. Yeah. But
Yeah. Specifics
and
don't
that
matter.
was a
It's just
pretty
that
new party.
they were in another party beforehand, and they had experience in the Dáil. But just based on numbers, they're probably also landholders that are getting paid off by this as well, right? Unless they specifically stood up and said no.
I actually I know one of the those TDs that was elected, but
Mhm.
what I'm trying to say is that they got 3 TDs in from a party that was set up less than a year and a half, not even a year and a half before the last election.
Mm-hmm.
And like they put forward 4, they got 3 elected, and 1 narrowly missed out. But what I'm saying is that is a really good start for a very young party.
Well, if they
in
do what
terms
they're
of
purporting they're going to
our
do, then
election.
it's going to be amazing.
It's going to be very interesting to see if they get good backing, financial backing now. They could do very, very well. They could do very well in the next election.
Yeah,
I would say if they put up,
if they do,
I said they could afford to put up maybe 10, 15 members
mm-hmm.
for election next time. They might get most of them, because it does cost a lot of money to be elected in Dáil Éireann. It does cost money, and they're a small party. It would be interesting. But would we ever get something like the AF? Like, you have to remember too, the AFD was a very, very small political party too, only up to a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and
in Germany.
But them getting locked out of governance is horrible.
Well, saying that though, Sinn Féin got locked out of government here too. So we have a bit of experience here. We do lock people out as well. Yeah, I think I don't know. Very, very interesting.
They want nothing to do with this notion of slowing or stopping this tide, this tsunami of people flooding into Ireland from all corners
There's one single video that's responsible for leading over 2,000 Christian men to permanently quitting
of the globe.
Let there be no doubt about where Ireland stands. We want nothing to do with a backward-looking idea of sovereignty.
And though I have spoken about...
That's disgusting. Did you hear that? A backwards idea of
Yeah.
sovereignty? What he's saying
Yes.
is the diminishment of the Irish people is more important in allowing people
Yeah.
into the country that will not assimilate so that someone else can take us over and have their own sovereignty
Yeah.
on the Green
As a
Island.
leader of a nation. Yeah, as I was going to say, as a leader of a nation, he said that, yeah.
He's the Taoiseach?
Yep.
Oh, whoa.
Could you imagine if one of you, when your senior leaders in America said the same thing?
Oh, well, yeah. I don't think Speaker of the House Johnson would say
Now,
that.
bear in mind, he said this now before the last general election.
It doesn't matter when he said it. It's inappropriate.
Yes, but what I'm saying is people still, aren't him saying that, people still voted him back in.
There must be something wrong with your electorate then. There must be something wrong with the way that people are voting
Oh,
there.
Yeah, as they say, I can understand die-hard loyalty to party, you could say.
How
But
about
Windows,
diehard loyalty to the Irish people?
what I was going to say is, when does the loyalty stop? Like, it has to stop sometime. Because there's no way. There's Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael.
But that's not a reasoned
been in
response.
power
That's
in
not
Ireland
a
since the
reasoned
foundation.
response to say
No.
you don't want sovereignty for Ireland. What you're
Yeah.
saying is, fuck the Dáil
And by the way,
fuck the people, I don't care. Oh my God.
Yeah. Now, listen. Bear in mind, these two political parties, Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, have been in and out of power. It's the foundation of our state. We had Labour for a while, but overall, most of the time they were in charge.
Mhm.
But it seems to me that they've lost their way somewhere, either through corruption or buying into this narrative. But they've definitely lost their way as a political party.
They're not giving a reasoned response.
No,
There's a soft genocide going on, and all they can say is,
no, if they,
we want to give up sovereignty.
yeah, yeah.
The
Bear in mind,
destruction
no, he
of
said this
your way
before
of
the last.
life is more
By the way, he
important
said
than
this before our last general election. He said that before our last general election. Could you imagine if any leader anywhere across Europe said that? Would they get re-elected? I don't know.
Well, even 5 years ago, I would have said, oh, absolutely not. But now, I don't know. And that I don't
Yeah.
know is a scary prospect.
It is a very, yeah, it is. As they say, what's the Chinese curse? May you live in interesting times?
We do. Here we go.
This topic numerous times on this channel. I get constant and regular comments in the comment section from many people. I appreciate all the comments and every comment, even the ones totally disagreeing with what I say. That is your prerogative, and I'm glad you comment. But I have seen comment after comment after comment saying, you voted for these people, you get what you deserve. You vote for these parties and they come back in and you get more of the same. It's your fault, it's the voters' fault, it's the Irish people's fault. And I say, yes, okay, yes, you're right there. You're right to a degree. But people vote for Kim Jong-un 99.9% of the time. And he romps in every time. I don't think the North Korean people deserve him. You could also argue Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, a hard leftist socialist guy, communistic guy. Some would say a dictator. I don't know about that. But he's voted in too. And he then unleashes
Dictator.
his regime on the people. You could
Yes.
say, well, the Venezuelans voted for him, so they deserve him. And you could go on and on. Fidel Castro was voted in. Communists had elections all the time, but you always got the communists because there was only communists. But they were elections and people voted for them. Well, you voted for communists. You deserve the communists. Now, I know full well I'm being hyperbolic here. I'm doing it purposely.
Yeah.
I'm being deliberate in that to highlight the point that Ireland has a veneer of being a democratic, free and open society. It is not. No, it's very carefully curated, it's very carefully controlled, it's very carefully herded into the pen. What I mean by that is simply this. And here, at last, says you, is where Elon Musk comes into the frame. You see, most people consume mainstream media. I know, shock horror to all my esteemed and beloved viewers and commenters, we are not the majority. We are a tiny minority. Most people in Ireland, and indeed in the West.
I really want that to change. And I'm hoping we can be part of that voice. I really do. Because there's some absolutely fucking unreasonable bullshit going on that's causing the G7 countries and all these places that are supposed to have free speech that's unregulated by government so that we can have a fucking marketplace of ideas that's functional. And we can, in that arena, decide what are the best concepts and ideas to live by, as opposed to being from top down told what the appropriate concepts are. It makes me beyond the pale unhappy. Pissed.
Yes. And do you know what one thing I did shock me about the German election is I think the young people don't watch mainstream media as much as the boomer generation.
Right.
And which is a good change. Because I think young people now who are coming into their own, say, between ages of 18 and 25.
Well,
they see the reality.
Right, but the issue with
a lot more.
The issue with that is the algorithm. Right. So
but they also see, but I also think, personally, and the facts are proving it, that young people, why they're voting more centre-right or right-leaning, as most Europeans call it, is they stopped watching mainstream media. If you look at the average demographic of mainstream media, take it CNN, RT, or whatever mainstream news organisation, most of the people who watch them in large numbers are well over the age of 50.
Right.
And now young people are voting differently.
Right, but
and
that's
the boomer
still,
generation can't figure out why.
No, I understand that, but the problem is now there's an algorithm issue. When you have AI-driven algorithm capture, what happens is you're going to end up in an echo chamber, be it right, left, or whatever. But it's going to be right or left because it's not boring. If you're right or left, it's not boring. If you're in the middle, well, that's boring. Nobody wants to be boring.
But I think, but I do kind of give young people a lot more credit. I think when you see the voting democratic elections all across Europe, I'm not going to use Europe as an example, or even in the States. A lot of young people, when they're facing reality all across the world of not affording their own house, ever in their entire lives,
not going to happen.
Not having a stable job, not having a stable job, no possibility of a life outside of work. They are the people who are changing politics, the face of politics across the world.
Oh, yeah, and the I may or may not get a mate is pretty serious as well.
Yes.
So no house,
living
no
life.
mate,
I'm just going to say living life.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think in Ireland as well, a lot more young people, when they realise in a couple of years' time, in the next election, but in the next election, differently.
Right,
I think there's going to be a massive paradigm shift.
Your refill rate, I think, is 1.6, isn't it? 1.7? So every Irish couple that's there and is Irish they're making on average 1.7 babies. So they're not even refilling like Irish people to 1-to-1, right? So that's so again another small angle on soft genocide, right? Not as bad as South Korea, 1.4, but not good.
Yeah, but also the young people are also Irish young people that I know. A lot of them are leaving Ireland as well. I don't know. It's, as they say, it's interesting to see what's going to happen in the next election. I have a feeling, I think Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil will definitely be, I won't say wiped out, but they'll lose at least half their seats, hopefully. Will that give Sinn Féin a chance to take government? It probably will. As I said, let's give Sinn Féin a chance, see how they get on. Let's face it, they can't do any worse than the last. But the other two boys have been doing for the last
I
maybe
want
Century.
my guys to get in. I'm not a voter there. What's my guys again? Not People Before Profit. What's the
Independent
Ireland?
Ireland. I think Independent Ireland will be there. They will get, but it takes a while for a party like that to say build up reserves of cash and so on
to get ahead of steam
more
and
more
get a
people.
little
Yes.
money in the bank.
Oh, I'll say they're looking at least 2-3 more election cycles, but 10 to 12 years down the road before they'll have enough head of steam. Because that's why our cycles normally work over here.
Well, something needs to happen. All right, let's get back to Mr. Domino.
Still consume mainstream media. That is your television, your radio stations, your newspapers, your glossy magazines. That's the reality. That's it. It's just like that. Every poll you can look at will tell you exactly the same thing. It is changing, yes, and it will change. And eventually, most people will be over here with us. But right here, right now, that is not the case. Not by a long shot. I choose to live in the world as it is, not as I would like it to be. And people sometimes ask, well, why don't people like me or somebody else, and YouTube is people far better and bigger than me, why don't you all run for election? I'll tell you why. Because YouTube views and clicks don't translate to votes. Maybe someday, but not right now. It's not a thing. Unless you go super duper duper viral, it's not gonna happen. YouTube is not the wider world. The wider world, for better or worse, is the mainstream media. It's your television. It's your newspapers. And in Ireland, that world is carefully, very carefully maintained, curated, and controlled. The mainstream media, television, newspapers, the radio is all under the careful control and curation of the government.
The United States was having that issue too. I was watching, I think it was, I can't remember, but what they showed is all these television stations across the entire United States, and it would say, hey, I'm so-and-so from such and such city, and they would go into a monologue. And literally that monologue was exactly the same monologue across hundreds of television stations.
Yes,
you could play them side by
remember,
side, and they were locked in step by syllable to say the thing that they were functionally directed to say. We're proud of our democracy. We're proud of the things we've done in City X because we're people Y. And we've done all these great things, and there's more great things to come. It was freaky. It was really unsettling, right? That means from the top down, a script was handed off and everybody had to say the thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's insane.
You could also say, always say it's just lazy journalism as well.
Not to that extent. If a couple stations are on a Pegasus network and they say the same thing, okay. So you bought 6 minutes of news and that's the first 6 minutes, and it just the same thing went broadcast over all these stations because they're kind of in the same local area. But when you have a station in Scranton, New Jersey and another one in Fresno, California that says the exact same thing, along with, Key West and I don't know, say the entire Panhandle, right?
Yeah.
And then the Red River Valley in Texas, literally all the same. Spokane, Washington, Boise, Idaho, all the same. That is unsettling, to say the least. That means that there's a measure of control.
We have we have a bit of a smaller journalist pool in Ireland, but they do all sing off the same hymn sheet. Very few
what was
questions
that young
asked.
fella's name that we were talking about who was writing that silly thing that he wrote, and we kind of dug into him? Remember his name? I remember his middle name was fucking because I got real tired of his bullshit real fast. Real tired, fast.
That was the news article. Yeah, that was a news article we did on Doge. Remember?
Yes.
Doge. Yes.
That
you
kid
really got
broken.
under your skin. And by the way, I discovered that MSN actually has an Irish office, which I never knew.
Oh, there you
apparently.
go. Well, there you go.
Yeah, I never knew that. Apparently he works in it, even though he lives in Washington.
Yeah, well,
I don't know how that works, but apparently he works. Yeah.
It's the FNN. It's the fake news network. Just ask DJT,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I was looking at kind of going, oh, everyone a part of MSN Ireland,
Right.
proud of Dublin, blah blah blah. All lives in Washington. Hang on.
What?
Oh,
Huh?
that was interesting. Yeah, figure that one out. Yeah,
Real good Irish name though, right? Like those guys that call you with a Indian accent from the Gardaí.
yeah, yes, I remember that actually. I remember that scam phone call.
Here we go.
Right, let's get back to the topic.
The broadcast mainstream media in Ireland need licenses from the government to operate. And if you need a license from the government to operate, then I'm sorry, but they own you. You want to know where votes come from? They come from RTE, the state broadcaster. I hate to say it, but that's the truth. You know where votes come from? They come from the Irish Times and the Irish Independent newspapers. That's where they come from. Not YouTube and not X. At least not yet. And I would argue that the reason most people, and we're talking predominantly about people, the older generation, 40 up, because younger generation are too busy with TikToks and Instagrams. I'm talking about the older generation, the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s and up, who vote, who actually vote. They get all their information, all their news, all their opinions fed to them by the mainstream media, by government propaganda. Why do you think the Irish government was quite happy, more than happy, to pump in over 700 million euros to prop up the dysfunctional RTE, radio television state
I remember
broadcaster? Because it's the mouthpiece of the...
Yeah,
You're serious? That happened? So
I
state-run media got a big
actually,
boost?
it's actually there's a bit more. There's a bit more to it. I have to show you. We will actually cover that.
Okay.
But there's a lot more to it. What happened was they blew all their money on,
What? On what?
Yeah, they were given money. They were given money with, you'd be shocked to know, but
was it the hookers and blow problem? It was a hookers and blow problem, right?
Well, no, actually, I wish it was that exciting. Actually, it was pretty mild.
It was bland.
They just massively overpaid for everyone. It wasn't actually there was no hookers involved. There was no. Well, there was a bit of wine. There was a wine party included.
Like the French pantry.
That's as exciting as it got. And there was flip flops. They spent a couple of $100,000 on flip flops.
Well, they weren't even like Birkenstocks. They weren't even really good Jesus Walker waters.
No, they weren't even good ones. They're the ones you buy down the likes of, as you would say in the United States, something you buy in Walmart for $2.
Nice.
They weren't even the nice ones.
Couldn't even get quality Jesus Walker walkers. Oh my god.
Yeah. We will cover that. Actually, we have to go over that Dawn.
Did they at least wear Argyle socks with their $2 Walmart flip flops?
Yeah. No.
Not even exciting Argyle socks.
No.
Bland like
not even
oatmeal.
Exciting Argyle socks.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And no blow either. No hookers. Just a couple of wine parties.
Chicken fillet sandwich with no onions. Come on now.
Yeah. There was one guy there was one of our Ryan Tuberty was his name. Who got massively overpaid.
Oh.
Didn't realize, by the way, he had an extra 150 or whatever, over 100 grand extra in his bank account. He just forgot it was there, really.
Oh.
Didn't realize he's been overpaid.
Oh, just one guy had
one guy was given a rental car to go on some trip down the countryside. Just never brought it. Just thought he kept it for 5 years.
Oh,
just kind of went downhill from there. Just forgot. I have a car. I was given it one day. I just decided not to bring it back like a library book.
Nice.
It just kind of went downhill from there. Really, it was just all these mad crazy.
I don't
expenses.
think I forgot to bring the Catcher in the Rye back to the public library. That seems a little different.
Yes, I'm kind of that's what I'm thinking. All these crazy expenses on RT.
I bet it was a Subaru.
And then they went to.
I bet it was a Subaru.
They went to the golf. Best of all is when they went to probably. No, I don't think it was even that fancy a car. I saw a picture of it, and it just looked like a normal, everyday pick it up for 3 or 4 grand kind of car. It wasn't even a fancy one. But anyway, they went to the Dáil Finance Committee saying, look, we're after losing all our money. You know, we're broke. So the Dáil Finance Committee were saying, what do you do with all your money? So they said, look, here's our accounts, have a look. They had a look, all right. They had a very big- and because our Dáil Finance Committee is broadcasted live, by the way, all committees in Dáil are broadcasted live
Okay.
by Dáil Éireann. So everyone, it's very open. You can watch it anytime. Most people don't watch it. And most people don't watch the Finance Committee when people come in with their budget requests. You know, all different government departments.
Right.
Like watching paint by. And most of this was kind of being brushed over when RT was having this bit of a whoopsie, as they say.
Yeah, a bit of a whoopsie. Whoops.
But in fairness to a lot of the journalists, were kind of going, he did what now? Because our state broadcaster RT is mainly financed, well, by advertisements and license fees. And they get propped up by a shortfall of a couple of million every year. But this was just unbelievable. Like they were paying out crazy money to all these people. And do you know what the worst part was?
What's that?
The celebrities, I'm going to say celebrities in RT, were being paid hundreds of thousands. But during the lockdown, they turned around in the last couple of years and cut their bottom end staff, you know, the cameraman, the sound man, everyone at the lower levels, you could say, cut all their wages by 20%. Where they were paying hundreds of thousands on the other side. It was absolutely
So the people that actually
nothing.
get the programming to
Job
the public
Yeah.
took a pay cut, but the people who were making the big money just kept making the big money.
Yes. And don't forget the flip-flops. And the flip-flops.
Right.
And the
Without
wine.
Argyle
The wine
socks, just
and the
boring
wine
as
part.
boring as hell. All right.
Yes, and wine. Yeah, and there was wine parties and other things.
Got it. Here we go.
The regime. Why do you think they were happy to throw tax incentives at all the mainstream newspapers and newsprint and magazines? Why? Well, because they were getting them on board. The people who vote in these parties vote based on the information they get from government-controlled media. Irish people vote the way they do not because they're uninformed, but because they're misinformed
100%.
and purposely
Yes,
so.
he's right.
The government-owned state broadcaster only ever gives specific sides of stories, only ever puts out specific narratives that suit the government, regardless of what most ordinary Irish people think. Its job is not to inform, but to propagandize, to message, to create narratives that suit the ruling elite. Well, fair enough, you might say. That's the state broadcaster, and you're going to get a bit of that. What about the rest of the mainstream media landscape? Well, I'm afraid the picture doesn't really get much better, because the vast majority of the rest of the mainstream media, I'm talking about the other TV station, I'm talking about the other radio stations, I'm talking about not only the national ones, but the regional ones, well, they're all owned by just a small handful of global corporations. Firstly, there's Media House. It's a Belgian conglomerate, and they own a number of national newspapers, including the Irish Independent, the Sunday Independent, the Evening Herald, and the Sunday World, as well as they have a 50% stake in the Irish Daily Star. They also control regional titles such as the Belfast Telegraph and a dozen weekly papers. They are the largest print media group in Ireland, and they have, as you can see, very extensive coverage. Then, of course, there's the old reliable Irish Times, which is our version of The Guardian over here, the ultra uber woke newspaper read mainly by the academics and elites. They consistently push out every and any woke agenda they can possibly think of. As far as I'm concerned, they're rarely, if ever, batting on the side of the ordinary Irish people. Apart from that, you have Bauer Media Group. They're German. They own quite a number of radio stations, national and regional, including TheA FM, News Talk, and regional stations like Dublin's 98 FM, Spin 1038, and Cork's Red FM.
Isn't that your radio station right there, bud? That's
Yeah.
you, right? Cork's Radio at
Yeah.
Cork's Red FM.
No, that's another. He's making a very good point here. Is a lot of our media is all owned by large multinational companies.
Yeah,
who-
they're all foreign nationals. I mean, they're all in the EU, but I mean that's an extensive amount of control to
But
distribute information to 5 million people.
And plus, the government, as he said, the government gave them a massive tax cut. Of course, they're going to be on the side of the government. So if somebody feathers your nests, you're not going to upset that too much.
Oh
Too
no,
much, are
absolutely
you?
not. No, if somebody hands you the money, you're like, okay, that works for me.
Yeah, as they said, there's no sentiment in business.
Yep.
And
Just these radio stations account for over 25% of the total radio market in Ireland. Again, a foreign-owned conglomerate. Then there's Virgin Media, and they are the, if you like, television alternative to the government's RTE. They own Virgin TV, and they are the largest commercial TV operator in Ireland. So you see the problem here. We have, on the one hand,
Welcome to the ARC Venture Fund.
Today,
government controlling the main source of information with its state broadcaster, and then you have a small number of conglomerates, foreign conglomerates, multinationals, who control the vast majority of the rest of the commercial print media, TV and radio media. So apart from the government,
it's a massive,
having
massive problem. That is a massive problem.
Yeah, you can't get.
Not just in Ireland, by the way. All across the world. We all understand the problem that when you multinationals start buying up voices,
Yeah,
of course they're going to feather their own nest. That's we all know that. Going without saying.
you want things to go your way, and you have a board that you have to answer to, right?
Yeah.
And so, and this ties back into a lot of the NGOs. Like Politico was selling between $10,000 and $37,000 subscriptions to government agencies that they were paying for, right? And like the White House was like, absolutely not. Like that's not going to happen. No, absolutely. Like that's unacceptable behavior. And then a lot of these companies had to fire most of their staff because they were being held aloft by that, right? Some of these NGOs and some of these like distributed media or whatever, like over 90% of their income came from the government, which means that it's the only client they have. Like they're not raising money any other way. They're just getting money from the government. So they have no compulsion to say anything against the government because then they don't exist anymore, right? And then they don't get the money.
If you look, if that's as Dominic showed, as he showed right here, the Irish government turned around after that and gave a massive tax cut to all the media organizations that, went with their talking points.
Did they say it was to enhance free speech options in Ireland?
Oh, they had that. They dressed it up of, we're helping out media and these, the usual. They're not going to say that, we gave them a tax cut because, they did us a favor. No, they're definitely not going to ever say that.
Oh, for sure. No. Can't
Oh
say
no,
that.
oh no. You have to dress up. You have to dress it up a bit.
Well, if you don't dress up the turkey, nobody's going to eat it, bro. It's not going to happen.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, same as any kind of dish.
Yeah. And they serve this one cold and bad, son. Cold and bad. Oh. If I invite you to my house for Thanksgiving dinner, Mr. McCallum, I will dress the turkey up very nicely, and I won't lie to you. I will not lie to you.
Hey, you better have some Irish whiskey as well to go with it.
I will not tell you it's a vegan Thanksgiving when you can see a turkey and a spiral ham on the table. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no one likes a vegan Christmas. Let's face it. No. That's how you call it. That's just sad.
Wasn't that technically a sin? It's technically a sin.
Yeah.
Here we go.
no real interest in the Irish as a distinct people, a unique people, and trying to preserve.
Here we go.
I would imagine
there's the man we were actually talking about. Johnny, welcome to the podcast. How you doing, bud?
How you get on, John?
Not bad, boys. What's happening?
Oh, just we've been waiting. We actually hit you up earlier and wanted you to get in on this podcast, and we got just a few minutes of this video. So just give us your opinions and do me a favor, cut off whatever video you have in the background so it doesn't bleed through. And I will go to you in order after Mr. McCallum says what he's got to say. All right. We're going to go back to Mr. Domino, and then I'll get your input on the next thing coming up. You got me, Johnny?
Quite all right, gotcha.
All righty, here we go.
Imagine that these foreign conglomerates have even less interest in that concept. So who's actually on the side of the ordinary native Irish person, you might ask? Well, very few people in terms of media. Gripped media being the main one that I can think of, and they're an online platform, and they just simply don't have the reach, even though they're doing sterling work. And there are many content creators, again, on YouTube, such as myself, and far more worthy people than me, who are giving voice to the ordinary Irish sentiment. But we don't have the reach. There is no way we can compete with the juggernaut that is the government, state broadcasters, and these major media conglomerates. So what's my answer?
Well, before we get his answer, Patrick, so talk to me about this. So you only have a single online entity that is free and fair as far as the marketplace of ideas is what Derrick's saying right there, right? That's the case?
Yeah.
So what we're looking at is Derrick Domino talking about Elon Musk saving Ireland. And what has happened in Ireland is a massive amount of money was pushed out to all the state-run media. So in Australia, is most of your media state-run media, like in Ireland, how they have RTE and all that kind of stuff, or are they independent, or are they owned by large conglomerates?
They are independent, as in they are owned by large conglomerates at the end of the day, although the 9 Network, 10 Network are now, I think, co-joined. I'm not 100% sure there. 7 Network's still by itself. Our media outlets basically suffer from the same problems that you've got in America with your media outlets. We do have a national broadcaster, and unfortunately they're very, very left, where they're meant to be fairly neutral. And then we have multinational broadcaster, which is SBS, and they have their own agenda. We also have NITV, which is an Aboriginal broadcaster. But the mainstream stuff is 7, 9, 10 Network and ABC.
Got it. Patrick, I cut you off, bud. What do you got? You were going to say?
I was going to ask you there, Johnny. So is there any kind of independent media source in Australia?
Sky News actually is probably a slightly better balanced setup.
When I check my video feeds for the algorithm, what I get is I'll get Fox and I'll get Sky in the same box, right? Because I have a left media entry point and I have a right media entry point. But anytime I pull up the right media side, and I'll use things like Epic Times and Ground News or whatever to see who's talking about what, to see where they are. But Sky News almost always falls in line with what Fox News is doing. So, and I think that might be a multinational kind of thing. I haven't checked to see who their parent companies are.
Well, Sky News is not the same as Sky News UK. Sky News UK is a reasonably left-leaning organisation. Yeah. Sky News Australia is
right.
But it is still a bit like Fox. It has an agenda that it's running to.
Johnny, I set up that feed for you so you can pull it up and look at it. I'm going to go ahead and go back to Mr. Domino's video. Let me know when you have it up and live so you can also be listening in. And Patrick can bring us into that one. So we were talking about that RTE News broadcaster. Where'd you say that he lived, Patrick?
You're talking about the guy who forgot he had the money in his bank account?
Yeah.
Ryan Tuberty? Yeah. He was living in Dublin. He's gone abroad now. He left Ireland.
Oh, did he?
Kind of he quietly retired. He's either going to quietly retire, or
nice.
The government are just
of course he did.
The government are just going to sack his ass.
Nice. No, I was talking about the young
He's
gentleman.
getting paid more than your president.
Oh, of course. Of course. But I don't think Trump's taking a paycheck. No, I was talking
Yeah.
about the young fellow that we tracked down on the episode that was with RTE.
Oh, yes.
That young
No.
fella.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go
Yeah.
back to the video. Here we go.
It's up, mate. It's up. I've got it up. I had it up before.
Here we go.
A possible solution to this? Well, here's where Elon Musk comes in. Elon has proved to me and many others that he is a firm believer, first of all, in free speech. His takeover of Twitter, now X, has been a revelation in allowing freedom of expression and difference of opinions. Elon is also a firm believer in unique peoples being allowed to be unique peoples and has a firm interest in them remaining as unique peoples in the world. He is, from what I can tell, a patriotic man, and he believes in the importance of borders and structural integrity of countries and nations. Elon, if you're listening, why don't you take a stake in some of the main players? You don't need many, they're all condensed. Maybe take a stake, a controlling stake in Virgin Media, in the TV station. The word is they're losing money as it is. They'd probably sell it to you for a couple of quid and a packet of crisps. Then you could turf out all the lackeys and the sycophants, get rid of all them, put in true Irish patriots, and give the other side of the argument. Maybe take a control.
Couple of bob and a pack of crisps, huh? You think it would help?
Virgin Media Group has been losing money hand over fist for the last 10 years now at this stage. Not just in Ireland, but in the UK as well. Oh wow.
Well, is it the
Yeah.
go woke, go broke problem, or what is it? Do you think?
I don't know. Virgin have kind of always flip flop between left, right, wherever makes some money. Really did. Virgin Media has never had a clear voice. Just kind of gone with the flow. Wherever it's in England or in Ireland,
Hey Johnny, does
They're-
Virgin
they
Media
don't
have
really
a footprint in Australia that's worth a damn?
No, none at all.
none.
No. Virgin's main problem is the CEO is always after the next main thing that's going to
The
keep his
next shiny
profile
bauble,
up and
isn't it?
running. Yeah, that's
He still trying to
No.
get into space, doesn't he?
yeah.
Yeah.
So he's a space
But
cadet.
he's heavily invested into like some of the green ideologies and things like that, which is strange for a guy who's running
Doesn't he have
an airline.
Doesn't it? Yeah, I was about to say he actually has an oil company as well. He actually owns a stake in an oil company.
That's
Yeah, but he, as they say, he kind of goes wherever he makes money, or as Johnny said, whatever shiny thing catches his attention. Time.
well, that last graphic that
Yeah.
Mr. Domino showed, 6.1 million euros in losses is definitely not the way to go, unless he's using it as a loss leader for some taxation purpose I'm unaware of.
Yes, probably more than likely. They normally these large, massive companies normally have loss leaders, so they can write off a bit down towards tax.
Right.
Virgin Media
Yeah.
Group, I've always looked at, they're just lost, really. I don't really have a clue.
I would suspect that if Elon made any kind of move on any of these corporations, that there would be a huge blowback from those with vested interests in him not getting those assets.
Same blowback as well.
And they would be
Yeah,
prepared to
same
throw
blowback.
money at it and take a loss on it. I mean, that's effectively what happened with
Well,
Twitter,
right,
and
but-
in the end they had to capitulate.
Right, but
Yeah.
at that point, you
Yeah.
can see a massive amount of corruption. Massive, right? So if he goes to make a move business-wise to acquire a company, and then a state says you can't do that, well, then the question would be why? Well, because then your message would change. No, the message wouldn't change, especially after Matt Taibbi and Mike Schellenberger went through and showed off the Twitter files, and they're like, look at this. Like, he fired 80% of the people that work there, and now it's a much better entity than it was before. X has new features. It has all kinds of freedom to say the thing, because it's at the end of the day, it's a public space. It's what's used as a
Yeah.
place for people to effectively communicate. Right? The public space isn't going down to Speaker's Corner anymore and saying your piece. It's where you go online to say the thing you're going to say, right?
Yes, but Johnny is right. If they say Elon decided to say, for instance, buy Virgin in the morning, would be massive uproar. Like as Johnny said, what happened with Twitter? They just threw money at us. try to break them that way.
Well, I'd say the government of the UK would be fairly obstructive towards it too.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
and then Elon told them
They would throw their resources behind trying to stop it one way or another. I have no doubt about that. You know,
Well,
they don't
Elon
have.
told the advertisers to go fuck themselves. He's like, look, I'm going to say what I'm going to say. I have the right to do the thing that I am doing. If you have a different opinion, put it up yourself. Say the thing you're going to say. But to just shit on me and tell me you're going to attempt to leverage me, go fuck yourself. And I think that's the right answer, right? Again, protection of free speech is to protect against the things you don't want to hear, so that the marketplace of ideas has a fair and equitable space for people to discuss the prospects therein. If you don't have that, then you don't have freedom of speech, and then you don't have a marketplace of ideas, and you get really, really bad science. You get really, really bad ideologies that become a thing that you can't say anything counter to, and if you do, then they have laws like Australia. Johnny, would you please tell Mr. McCallum here the newest set of laws that came in about hate speech in your beautiful country?
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Oh, send
That's
it.
pretty straightforward, mate. It's hate speech. It has its own definitions, and that definition is controlled by whoever determines what hate speech is, and that includes also misinformation. So that includes information against, well, anybody who says anything wrong, anything to do with the green policies, government policies. You know, there's a whole plethora of bullshit that can be tied up into it.
Right, non-scientific things that they purport to be the truth, and then if you say something counter to them or counter to the people who have said them, right? Like if someone's character is in question, you can't even say, you know, Representative so-and-so decided to impregnate the nanny, do a bunch of hookers and blow, spend hundreds of millions of our Australian dollars on bullshit. Like, you're going to get locked up. You're going to get locked up because now that's hate speech and it's misinformation because, well, what do you have of evidentiary value? We just say it didn't happen. It is so dogmatic and bad. I can't even swallow the horribleness that it is, that it encompasses.
Yeah, we're going down to exactly the same way in my own
Scotland
country.
did the same thing. And then look what happened. Their police force stopped investigating crime, and all they do is somebody said something mean about me and retweeted a bad word.
Yeah.
And now they're becoming incarcerated and they're releasing hardened criminals out into society. Up to and including people who've been included in the grooming gangs of South Asians, Pakistanis, who have super tight familial ties, right? Because of the cousin marriage thing, right? It's insane. It is insane. We're living in insano world, Patrick. I don't even, what the hell's, Patrick, tell me what's going on because apparently I'm missing something.
Yeah.
Like I went to the airport to catch my fucking boat.
Yeah. It's absolutely crazy, even in Ireland at the moment with our new hate speech laws. They're not as strict as Australia or Scotland, but they're very much in the same vein.
Like C16 out of Canada, right?
You cannot say mean words online to hurt other people's feelings. Because if you hurt other people's feelings, the Gardaí can knock on your door and have a chat with you, but hurting a grown adult's feeling.
Right.
It's absolutely the most. I'm just waiting for the first proper court case behind these stupid laws in Ireland, or even when they're going to be challenged in the court, because any half-decent judge with half a brain
in the UK, I think it was 2023, Konstantin Kisin said that over 3,000 people were incarcerated for what functionally is mean posts on X. You said a hurtful thing, and now that my feeling is hurt, I'm going to report you to the local law enforcement, and they're going to come pick you up.
But they were very clever in the UK. What they did was, the police will arrest you, bring you down to the local precinct or barracks, whatever you want to call it, have a chat and put you on a 48-hour hold, which most police forces around the world have. Well, we have it here as well. Our laws are very similar to the UK. So you're technically incarcerated, but then they would release you with a slap on the wrist and a fine, and off you go. They wouldn't go as far as bench court, a proper court. So technically, yes, you're incarcerated, but...
And then they put you on their little list.
On your list, yeah, exactly, Johnny. You said you're not technically going in front of a judge. Where you're going in the UK, you're going in front of the sergeant of the local barracks. I said the UK and Australia has very similar laws as well, doesn't it?
If you used to pay the fine and take it to court, that's how you handle that one. But the thing is that what they do is they use intimidation tactics, and you intimidate people to capitulate one way or another. Same as what fucking Goebbels and the Nazis did. Same as what the communists in fucking
Well,
Yeah.
the
Russia
punishments,
did when they set up, same as what Mao Zedong did, all of the rest of the fucking
the punishment's the process.
tyrannical regimes in the world.
Right, but the punishment's the process. Right, I can't go to work. I sent a tweet on Monday or a post on X or whatever, and then on Tuesday I get picked up, but I can't pay the rent if I don't go to work this week at my unsteady job, because if I miss 2 days because I got picked up, well, I'm just going to say whatever you want me to say, pay the 50 quid, and then next day go to work because I got to pay the rent, right? So the punishment's the process, and the more downtrodden and poorer people get, the more power the governmental agency is going to have through its regulated media to tell you what the right thing is, and then if you don't toe the line, then you're going to have a problem.
See the pattern there? You see the pattern? This is why they want to bring in all this cheap labour. They want to break everything down. This is why they keep people fighting against each other. They want to break everybody down. They want them looking to the left side when the right side's doing something. They want them looking to the right side when the left side's doing something.
Right. Well,
It's all, you know,
another-
keep.
It's another aspect of why corporations really like DEI and ESG. If you have a very strong DEI presence in your corporation, the odds that your workplace will unionize is almost zero. It is almost zero because people won't get together because they literally can't trust somebody because the immutable characteristics they have are different than yours. So it goes along this line of separation that is absolutely an anathema to creating unions and getting your workforce to work together to ensure that there's appropriate pay and benefits for the risk related to doing whatever your job is. And if there's not a risk and it's just bottom line and billable hours, well, does it affect billable hours? Right? Well, we need billable hours, and then, but if everybody's working at odds, I'm going to pay X person more than Y person. Nobody will ever know because they're giving unfair advantage for whatever reason. Right, regulated by the government, and then regulated by DEI and HR people whose function is to protect the company, not the employee. So anyway, back to Derrick. We're almost done with the video, boys.
Polling interest in the Irish Independent newspaper. That'd be a good one. That way you could again turf out all the lackeys and sycophants and the journalists who just wait by the phone for a government minister to call them to come and be an advisor. All those heads could be turfed out, got rid of. Bring in real journalists, people who aren't part of the club, part of the clique, part of the government spin machine. Get real people in there. I guarantee you double your circulation if you started giving Irish people the real story. I
have something to say about that too. So journalism used to be kind of a blue-collar function, right? It used to be hardworking, hard-nosed, investigative journalism. Go out, break a story, find a thing, let the people know. But what's happened now is a lot of news people have become celebrities in their own right. And because they're celebrities in their own right, they feel a righteousness in what it is that they convey. Now, if you understand that most of the media things that are happening, these people are famous because they're working for a curated system controlled from the top. It means that the information they're giving is privy only to them by the people who are giving them the information, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. They're not breaking stories. They're not investigating. This isn't Watergate. That isn't what this is.
No.
Right? And it's sad.
I think the days of proper investigation.
The problem with journalism today is most of it's not really journalism, it's opinion pieces. And people can't distinguish the difference between an opinion piece and journalism. If people don't go out and do any of the hard work and the hard yards, and they're getting stories about this or about that, then those stories are perpetrated by opinions and nothing else.
Right.
So it's an opinion piece. There's no journalism involved in it.
Johnny, Patrick said the other day when we were on doing our podcast, he said, "Hey, look, Alex, check this out." So this is an opinion piece. This is an editorial. This has nothing to do with the reality of the situation. Alex, this is a hit piece. This is opinion. And I was like, you're right. Yeah. That's exactly what that is. So, all right.
There was no proper sourcing.
Well, yeah, no vetting.
That's what I'm saying.
Nothing.
There's no sourcing. No, nothing.
And we checked the sources, right? The sources went back to other things that were also editorial opinion pieces that bore no weight.
Opinion pieces on top of opinion pieces.
Right. Zero evidentiary value, zero investigation, absolute bullshit.
Don't forget he had there was Wikipedia thrown in as well, just to help matters.
Oh my God.
That was icing on the cake for me.
Oh, bro.
There's some famous statements out there, and they go along the lines of scientists say, economists say,
Right. Well,
Politicians say.
Here's what I almost did, Johnny.
Opinion polls say.
Johnny, here's what I almost did. I almost put my finger in my mouth up to my elbow so I could vomit out all the disgustingness that I was fucking forced to just consume. I was sick to my fucking stomach, bro. I was like, you know what, bro? It feels like you're standing on my kitchen table, you're pissing on my back, and you're telling me that it's fucking raining. You can get fucked, son.
But you had a Wikipedia link.
Oh. Bro.
Yeah, Wikipedia's a busted outfit too.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, Wikipedia. Look, Wikipedia is fun, but you know.
That's
right,
busted,
Johnny,
mate.
We gotta push this thing through and try to get to post. Here we go.
Unvarnished truth about what's really going on. For a man of your extensive means, this would only be a trifling sum, and you might give the ordinary Irish people the voice in the mainstream media that they so dearly crave and that they so dearly need. You could help turn the tables. You could help even the odds against our own corrupt political class and their paymasters, the European Union and the global corporations. You could be the champion of every Irish patriotic man and woman here. You could help lead the charge for our salvation. You could help save Ireland.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, but this shit didn't happen overnight. This shit's been going on for years and years and years.
Yeah,
It's been going on for a fucking long time. There's been you look at the breakdown of jobs and work within countries, like it's all been shipped offshore. Why do you get shipped offshore? Well, because filthy fat corporations who devour smaller and smaller industries to become larger and larger, suddenly realise they don't want to pay these people this amount of money to do this thing and make this fucking product, so they ship it offshore so that those people that invested into these companies can continue to make their 15% or whatever it is year on year return on investment.
They have a duty to the board. They have a fiduciary responsibility to attempt to keep their...
No. These are the shareholders I'm talking about, not the fucking board. The board's the fucking instrument.
I understand. No, but the shareholders in the corporation demand the fiduciary responsibility of the board that they've directed, which, because of a lot of ESG and DEI stuff, if you don't follow the line, right, if you don't follow the ESG, we just kick you off the board, right? So they have to stay in line. But the thing is a lot of times what is fiduciarily actionable and appropriate isn't patriotically appropriate. It's just not.
Well, none of it is. No, yeah, but it doesn't matter how you look at it, however you slice and dice it. There's people who have got a lot of money who invest into these companies knowing full well that they're going to get massive returns on their investment. Now, here's another one you should really be looking very, very hard at, and that's the Reserve Bank in America and how it's run. And like they've issued what, $20 trillion in the last 12 or 15 years or something of additional currency to go. So they get paid for that. They don't issue that money for nothing. There's a cost associated with it. Who fucking earns it? Who makes that money? Who owns the fucking Reserve Bank in America?
The Federal Reserve does. It's a private entity, right? But the thing is, it generates interest, which is a tax that hits poor people the hardest, right? Because what you're doing is you're just fomenting that debt on the next generation, right?
There's a percentage cost of that money that's been generated that is also
right, and
goes to the cost of those who own it.
Cents on each one of those dollars,
and that's way above the cost of printing the money. The cost of printing the money is not very high at all.
Right, but there's an acceleration on that to force the United States to have more mercantile business, right? And the way that's done is by attaching debt to every dollar that's printed. That's functionally how that goes. All right, we are at time, gentlemen. You have anything in closing, Mr. McCallum?
No, that was actually a really, really interesting video, all right?
Yeah, I think Mr. Domino did a great job on that one.
Everywhere in the world.
Yeah, it just seems to be a mass media problem with large conglomerates holding stuff. Johnny, you got anything to close us out with?
Nothing more to say, mate.
All right, brother. All right, everybody. At this point in time, listening to the A&P. We'll be bringing Johnny back, our angry Australian, as soon as we can. Mr. McCallum, thank you for your time, and I will catch all y'all later. Don't forget to subscribe and click the like button. We are out.